that amazing trailer for Madu, an award-winning documentary, we welcome you to the Medley Show, where conversations come alive. Today, we're diving into the power of storytelling. Yes, not through fiction or, the regular stories that you're used to when it comes to Nollywood movies. We are talking real-life documentaries. And they are the windows into truth, culture, and history. And Nigerian filmmakers, of course, are using them to shine a light on who we are, where we've been, where we are going. So this is my promise. Get ready for a ride into stories that matter and are told raw and with a deep honesty. This is for Cinematic Beauty. Welcome to the Medley Show. My name is Tochi, and today we're going to have a great time. I have fantastic guests lined up for you to, take us into their world when it comes to storytelling. People who I am sure you'll be excited to meet, and of course, several other features that will come in the course of the show. Before we get into all that, as it is customary with us, let's bring you up to speed with all that's trending in the world of entertainment. This is BuzzFeed. Stay with us.
This week on BuzzFeed, thousands of people, including food lovers, celebrities, and influencers, gathered at a hotel in Lagos to watch food influencer and chef Hilda Bassi, who in 2023 held the title for the longest cooking marathon. She breaks another record by cooking the world's largest pot of Nigerian jollof rice. Hilda Bassi and her team used 4,000 kilograms of basmati rice, 500 cartons of tomato concentrates, 750 kilograms of oil, and 600 kilograms of onions. The plan of 250 bags of rice was cut to 200 bags to stay within the 20,000 kilogram weight limit. This giant dish of jollof rice also included 168 kilograms of goat's meat. This dish took 9 hours to cook, but it actually took about 9 months in planning. Veteran Nollywood actress Clarion Chukura has called out those who use online media to spread falsehoods about her. She made a call out on Instagram where she sought to understand why news content providers and their sources have a tendency to criticize people who are doing well in their lives and seek to undermine them. She questioned why the online media space in Nigeria has normalized misinformation, as she described the people behind these things as miserable, accusing them of wishing evil on people.
Amazing stories there. Congratulations to all the winners of the just concluded 77th Emmy Awards. We go straight into our conversation today, which is telling Nigerian stories through film, a focus on documentaries. But first, let's bring you a feature. This feature is titled The Relevance of Documentaries Today. That will give you an insight into our conversation. Now, right after that, you get to meet my guest.
Beyond entertainment, documentaries are one of the strongest tools for social commentary. They capture real stories, real people, and real struggles, giving us unfiltered windows into issues that might otherwise remain invisible. Documentary films are far more than stories captured on camera. They are windows into truth, perspective, and social consciousness. Unlike fictional narratives, documentaries ground themselves in reality, presenting lived experiences, historical events, and urgent issues as they unfold. This makes them one of the most powerful tools for social commentary. Through carefully chosen images, testimonies, and storytelling, documentaries give a voice to communities that are often silenced. They humanize statistics, turning abstract challenges like poverty, inequality, or climate change into relatable human experiences. In doing so, they spark empathy, and empathy is often the first step towards meaningful action. Importantly, documentaries challenge dominant narratives. They interrogate systems of power, question social norms, and reveal hidden truth. A well-crafted film on corruption or human rights, for instance, can raise awareness, influence public debate, and even pressure governments or institutions to act. Yet, documentaries are not only about exposing problems, they also celebrate resilience, culture, and innovation. They preserve memory and history, ensuring that future generations learn from both triumphs and mistakes. In this way, documentary serves as both a mirror of our present and an archive for the future.
All right, documentary truly is an archive for the future. Time now to meet my guests. I will start with a documentary filmmaker sitting right here in the studio with me. She is Mena Abera, who has been nominated at several film festivals for her documentary works. Welcome to the Medley Show.
Hi, again.
How you doing? It's good to see you. It's always good to see you on the Medley Show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
All right then, joining us all the way from the UK is Elemchi Mosu. She is also a documentary filmmaker known for her documentary titled I Am Igbo. Elemchi, how are you doing? Welcome to the Medley Show.
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good.
Okay.
I'm feeling good.
Okay,
Thank
good,
you.
good to see you. And completing the list is Joel Kachi Benson. He is an award-winning documentary filmmaker who recently won an Emmy Award for the documentary production Madu, and also the Al Jazeera Award for Best Feature Documentary at the Encounters Film Festival in SA for his documentary Mothers of Chibok. Joel, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How's it going?
Good, good, good. It's good to see you all. How are you all doing? Thank you for joining us on the Medley Show today.
Thank you.
So, do you want us to go straight into the questions, or you want us to play a little game? I like to start with a little game, so I'm sure your nerves are calm before we get into the business of the day. So, y'all take a pick. What do you want me to start with, Mena? Should we start with the games? Kachi, LMC, what do you want me to start with, games, or we should get straight into the conversation?
Games is good. Let's do
Games
it.
is good. I like that. Okay, so we're going to play something I call a pitch in 30 seconds. So I'm going to read you each a topic, and then you have 30 seconds to pitch it as your next documentary project. Consider the title, your content, and maybe your soundtrack as well. So are we ready?
Sorry, can you come again?
Okay, so we're going to play a game that I call Pitch in 30 Seconds. So since you're all filmmakers, I want to test your creative muscles, yeah? So I'm going to give each of you a topic. Then what I want you to do is to pitch it to me in 30 seconds as your next documentary topic. And you're going to consider the title, content, and of course your soundtrack maybe. So we ready?
Okay.
So Joel, I'm going to start with you, Joel. So your topic is the life of Okada riders in Lagos. Go. Your time starts now. You have 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess, I've never done this before. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I guess, it's, this is the life of an Okada rider who's, fighting to educate his kids. And the whole idea is that we follow him for like a day in his life and just see what it takes, for the people that we call at the bottom of the food chain, what it takes for them
your time is up. Yeah, that's all the time you get. So LMG, I'll come. But that was fun though, that was fun. So LMG, you're up next. So I want to do something. I'm going to tilt towards your last documentary. So I'm going to give you something. You've heard about the Igbo apprenticeship system, right? LMG, I'm talking to you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So that's your topic, the Igbo apprenticeship system. Your time starts now. Go.
Okay. Well, I would start with the history of the system, and not a lot of people know about the Igbo apprenticeship system. It has been a model that's been adopted globally all over the world, and it's the opportunity to tell the origins of that story and the people behind the story. In terms of a theme tune, I guess an Igbo song. Again, like actually I haven't done this before, but yeah, something around.
And your time is up. Yeah. Well, you did the most you can. That was cool. That was cool. So, Mena, yours is more fun. I want to hear it.
Let's see.
So, your topic is the struggles of jollof rice and fried rice. Go. 30 seconds.
Okay, this is an animation docu-series of jollof rice and fried rice. So they talk about the issues that they have been passing through for over the years in the stomachs of people.
Stomachs? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you would
No.
I thought you would tilt towards choices. People trying to choose between jollof rice and fried rice.
In the stomachs of people.
In the stomachs. Okay, go ahead. You have 10 more seconds.
Yes, so the style is going to be animated docu-series where we'll make characters of jollof rice. So we're going to use color, golden color, and then for soundtrack, very excited.
Okay, your time is up. Thank you very much. That was fun. That was fun. I mean, I was trying to test your creative muscles, and that went well. So let's get right into the conversation. Joel, again, I'm going to start with you. I'll start by saying congratulations on your recent Emmy for Madu, and of course your Al Jazeera win for Mothers of Chibok. But I would like to ask, what inspired you to take that particular story? I mean, it's a story of a young boy who wanted to dance ballet, but what inspired you to take an interest in that particular story, and why do you think it resonated globally?
I mean, I think that, Anthony's story is really a story of all of us, right? Okay. It's resilience and courage and strength in the faith capacity. I kind of like saw myself in Anthony as a documentary filmmaker. You say, oh, you want to make docs, and everyone is like, what does that even mean? How are you going to earn a living? What kind of stories are you going to tell? But I still chose to do it anyways. And so, listening to Anthony tell me his story about wanting to dance and facing the bullying and the teasings and all of that, but still, in spite of all of that, insisting on pursuing that dream, resonated with me. I think it's the story of millions of young people in Nigeria, across Africa, who are daily chasing that dream that, someone has said to you it's impossible, but you go ahead and chase it anyway. You don't give up on your dreams. And it's a universal thing. When you talk about how did it, resonate globally, like, it's a universal thing, that desire to want to pursue your dreams. We all have dreams, we all have aspirations. And sometimes the things around us or the people around us want to make us feel like it's not worth pursuing. But, I feel like that ability to be able to overcome those fears and really go for it is what makes it universally resonant. Yeah.
Okay, you also produced Nigeria's first ever virtual reality documentary. We're going to get to that in a bit. Before we talk about that, let me talk to Elemchi for a few minutes. So Elemchi, tell me, your documentary is titled I Am Igbo, right? And it beautifully showcases lives of the Igbo people in diaspora, in the UK to be precise. So what I want to know is what inspired you to document diaspora life of the Igbos in particularly, and most people would sort of tell different stories, but you chose to tell us what's going on with the lives of this particular set of people in the UK. Tell me why.
Well, it's something that I had been interested in for quite some time. I think the life of people in the diaspora is quite nuanced. We have such a strong affinity to home. We have such a strong tie to our roots, but we are also grappling with the struggles and the challenges of creating a new life here. Okay. And then also trying to reckon with that and really understand, like, how do we build community? How do you define home? What is home? And also, how do we reckon with the past, the uncomfortable past that we have, which is, the Nigerian Civil War, which I don't think is spoken about enough, both within Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. So the documentary also touches on the Civil War, so known as the Biafra War, of course, And this is a group of people, this is a community that I find really interesting, not just because I am Igbo myself, but also the resilience and the tenacity that I see Igbo people have. And I wanted to study that, I wanted to follow it, and more importantly, I wanted to tell an honest, authentic story.
So tell me, what did you find out? And what's the impact of the content of that documentary?
There are so many themes. I found that there are strong themes of wanting to go back home and wanting to find that sense of truly what is home. Is home where you are abroad? Is home Igbo land? Is some Igbo people also don't see Nigeria as their home. There is still groups that are pro-Biafra that are wanting to continue to, push that agenda. And so really for me, the biggest finding is that this is something that is still somewhat unresolved.
Okay.
And that was quite moving for me. I also noticed that there was a lot of trauma that people carry with them. I think sometimes when we think, okay, Nigeria had a civil war, we say it in such a matter-of-factly, objective way, but we don't really get to see the stories and the faces behind those struggles. And so people are holding on to a lot of pain, but despite that, people are also, holding on to their community, the newfound joys that they found where they're living. We found a way to celebrate that past, celebrate ourselves as a group, and thrive nonetheless. And you asked about the findings. Really, those are the findings. Okay. It's been really well received here. I've also had some really interesting comments from people in Nigeria as well, which is more like, we want to see more of this.
Okay. So, Mena, you have been producing documentaries and films, but back here in Nigeria, right?
Yes.
So, I feel like Nigerians sort of prefer fiction or regular feature movies.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, do you think documentaries are underrated? Yes. Talk to me about how documentary stories are received here in Nigeria.
Okay. As other speakers have spoken, Nigerians love documentaries, but
we do?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's the form and the medium in which it is sent out that is the problem, that has been the problem. And, documentaries have different types. We have the categorical, the drama, the narrative, the rhetorical. But most times what we see is the rhetorical types of documentaries that persist and give you an opinion to something, instead of breaking it down into different options and putting endings to it. So why documentaries are not seemingly in the eyes of the people received is because of the way it is being made. Most times people tell me that, Nana, why are Nigerian documentary boring? When we have a lot of content, when we have a lot of stories, it is the way it is being cooked. Like you gave me a pitch about cooking, about jollof rice, and they said, the rice, jollof rice is a term, but how it is being made, it is how it is going to be received and consumed. So the value of whatever we're putting out is the problem. Are we making our documentaries fun enough? Are we making our documentaries serious but consumable enough? Because that is the power as a filmmaker, to present documentaries that are discussing social issues in an exciting and fun way. I'm not saying I should dilute the content, but it's the form. It's like a container. Which container are you putting it and serving me with? So that is what I always tell anybody that's interested in documentaries. For me, I love documentaries.
It's the manner with which you serve it.
It is how it's packaged.
Okay.
And how it is, how I've already said it all, just present it in a way that is going to be easily consumed.
Okay.
No, yeah.
So, Joel, I'm coming back to you. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I remember a documentary you produced titled Daughters of Chibok. That sort of put a spotlight on the missing girls in Nigeria at the time. My question is, she mentioned documentaries sort of solve like a vehicle to solve social issues. So do you feel documentaries can achieve social change in a way that fiction films might not? Because sometimes when we look at fiction movies, it's just fun and vibes, like they say, yeah? But documentaries sort of carry a different message. So do you think we can achieve real social change in any society in the world using documentaries?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to some extent, yes. I feel like if there's an intentionality to how the film is made, and this is not just about docs. It could also be narrative.
Right.
If there's an intentionality to it, where you sort of like make the film, but there's a specific purpose to it,
Okay.
and you're intentional about how you want to achieve that purpose, right? So whether you're tying an impact campaign to it, or you are, so if you're intentional about it, then you can say, yes, this is how we move people from empathy to action. The docs that I make, I'm very big on like social impact storytelling, where film or storytelling intersects with social impact. But there has to be an intentionality to it. So if I make this film, why am I making this film? What's the purpose? What are we trying to achieve with it? And we're intentional about how we go about finding those solutions to address the issues that we want to use the film to address. So once you're intentional about it, then of course, you can achieve some change, but just expecting it to sort of like happen on its own, might be a bit of a dream in that sense.
Okay, so there's I may be wrong, but for me, when you're looking at the screen, the first thing that comes to mind, besides besides learning anything new, is getting entertained, right? So documentaries, like Mena said, depends on the way that you serve it to your guests, may not be as entertaining as watching a feature film. So what I want to ask is, in the course of making your docs here, do you ever feel the pressure when you're trying to balance truth, creativity, and the message you're trying to push out? Do you ever feel the pressure to entertain instead of just stick to your story?
I mean, I really don't know how to.
That's actually to push. By that, I mean trying to push acceptance, because whether we say it or not, you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Go ahead.
I hear you, and I think that the first thing that a filmmaker, a storyteller, you want to focus. Obviously, you want to focus on the story, the power of the story. The second thing is that you want to focus on just so like artistic excellence. How do you really present this in the most artistic way? And once you're able to figure that out, I think, this word entertain, I think what you're trying to say is engagement. How engaged are people with this body of work, right? There are people who sing really sad songs, songs of heartbreak and all of that. And they have like a huge following, You would think that, we all want to dance to like the happy songs. But people who do those kind of songs and they still... So I think it's about the artistic excellence. How much of your heart do you pour into your work to really make it be at a certain level of artistic excellence that you just can't help but engage with this body of work? And so that's how I approach storytelling. That's how I approach my films. So whether it's a heavy subject matter, like maybe talking about the Chibok girls, or it's sort of like a lighter subject matter like sports, football, whatever it is. It's all about artistic excellence. You can take on the most entertaining subject, and yet you don't engage people if it is not done at a certain level of excellence.
True.
So,
true.
That's my opinion anyways, but I could...
Okay. I completely agree. Not even all fiction movies or entertaining movies have as much engagement as some documentaries do. So I do agree with you. But at this point, we'll be taking a quick break on the show. When we return, more conversations on documentary filmmaking will continue in the studio on the Medley Show. Stay with us.
Yes. Documentaries have a way of pulling us into realities we might otherwise ignore. And in Nigeria, filmmakers and journalists are using the camera as a mirror to show us who we are and sometimes who we'd rather not be. Here are the top 3 most powerful documentaries that have sparked real conversation in recent times. Up Nepa by Ishaya Bako.
For me, would be Hell on Earth.
I would say they are just playing with our lives.
You know what's in Nigeria general?
If you're a Nigerian, you already know electricity or the lack of it is part of our everyday life. Ishaya takes this shared frustration and tells it through stories of ordinary people trying to cope. It's serious, but also a little witty, because let's be honest, we've all had those up-nepa moments when the light finally comes back. This documentary doesn't just talk about power cuts, it shows how something as simple as electricity shapes how we live, work, and dream.
Okay, welcome back. This is the Medley Show, and that was top 3 anything, top 3 documentaries in Nigeria at the moment. Of course, I still have Mena in the studio, and I have Joel Kachi-Benson and Elem Chinwosu who are joining us on Zoom. I hope you guys can still hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So, Mena, let me quickly ask you, yeah? You've been telling stories in Nigeria, right? But what's the biggest challenge of filming real stories on ground here, documentaries? Is it access to these people, these communities, the stories you want to tell? Is it funding? Is it willingness of the people to share? What exactly is the biggest challenge you have to face when shooting documentaries?
It is the distribution and the sale of the content. You know, maybe some years ago I would have...
Distribution.
And sale of the content. Some years ago I would have said...
So money is not a problem. The people are not a problem, Sha.
Let me tell you, there's a lot of money in Nigeria. A lot of investors are just wanting to know how will I get my money back. So that is why I would say it is distribution. Because where do we take this content to after it has been made? You can make the first one, you can make the second documentary locally, but which channels are available? Which channels value this content? Which documentary stations do we have that would buy or collect or commission the making of this content? I love documentaries. Documentaries are my first love. My first film mentor is Femi Odugbemi. He is the owner of IRA. But it is documentaries, when you're talking about making a content, it goes beyond the social impact. It goes beyond the creation. Now, when you make it constantly, then the distribution and the value and the business of it kicks in, right? So we have international channels like the CGTN, we have the Canal Plus and Docs, we have the Al Jazeera, but how much of African content can they take to consume on international soil? So our problem with making documentaries here is not that we cannot make documentaries, because you can make documentaries for different scale, high scale, low scale, with a 2-camera team, with a 4-camera team, with a 10-camera team, or like technical team. You can make documentary at your pace, even with your phones. But at the end of the day,
where do we get to see them?
Where do we get to see them? Is there a place that values the content? Because on DSTV, if you check most of the owners of all this documentary stations that I called, they are mostly foreign.
Okay.
You know, so for me, it has always been the distribution and the sale of this content.
Okay. So, Joel, I'll ask you, we just saw a bit of your documentary that you produced with virtual reality. But what I want to ask is, why was VR important to you as a medium to shoot this particular content? Do you think it would change the way people will connect to this story? I just want to know why VR was your chosen medium to produce this particular content. Go ahead.
Right. I mean, you know, like I said earlier, sometimes it's about, you know, how do you engage with the audience, right? You know, virtual reality, immersive experiences really have this very unique ability to take viewers to places that they otherwise would not be able to access. And so, you know, when you think about a place like Chibok at the time that we made the film, you know, still largely inaccessible. It's a lot of, like, I guess, myth and stories and all of that around the place. the question for me was, in telling this story, how do I make it as impactful as possible? How do I give, the audience the most impactful experience?
Right.
And so we decided to experiment with virtual reality and say, you know what, we would like to take people to this place and immerse them in this place, a place that you ordinarily would not be able to go to, And the feedback that we got was this, like the same across board. Every single person that watched it was like, it felt like I was there,
Right.
It felt like I was sitting in the, it felt like I was with this woman. And it made the story, I guess, so much more real for the audience. And so, yeah, it's that really was it at the heart of, if you ask me, the core reason for using VR to make that film was really just to be able to really connect with the audience and give them an experience of this place and this story like they've never experienced it before.
Okay. LMG, let me talk to you about your work in the UK. So being in the UK, how do audiences or people, how do these people respond to Nigerian stories? These stories that you tell, how do they respond to it? Are they curious? Are they emotional? Are they sometimes even shocked? How do they respond to Nigerian stories over there?
Well, considering Nigerians are probably the #1 African, community, the largest African community that is in the UK, I think there's a lot of I think it's welcomed positively, first and foremost. I think that there is a lot of excitement around Nigerian films, Nigerian content. I think that's definitely something that has grown significantly over the past 5 or so years. I think Nigerian documentaries, I had a really positive reception because I think one of civil war has impacted us till today. And I think there was just a lot of, I got a lot of people messaging me saying, I'm a Nigerian living in the UK, or I'm married to a Nigerian, or I have Nigerian friends. I didn't know that, this was a part of the history and that this is still something that is still a conversation today. And so I think that there's definitely a feeling of positivity and openness and curiosity to learn more, because I think, sometimes when we think of Nigeria, or when people here think of Nigeria, it's like the first thing that comes to mind is African giant, jollof rice, Afrobeat, all of these things, all of these kind of more sort of mainstream things, but we don't really think about the history and the nuances across the communities, a lot of the things that tie us together within our various ethnic groups, and also the things that tie us together as a country. So I was quite keen to apply a different lens to that whole story of Nigeria.
Okay, so my next question, I'm going to need all three of you to have a go at it, but of course I'll start with you, LMG, since you just got done speaking. So our Nigerian stories through documentaries have, of course, gone globally. What do you think Nigerians, you're talking about responses from your audiences in the UK, but then again, this story is our story. So I want to know, do you think Nigerians appreciate this genre enough? That's documentaries. I'll start with you, LMG, before the others get their say in it.
I don't know if appreciate is the word that I would choose. I think perhaps it's not one that Nigerians that I know would particularly gravitate towards, because I think you did make a point earlier about entertainment. We like to be entertained, and I think often documentaries are associated with something that may entertain you, may not, but is just quite factual and there to inform you, whereas actually that's not true. It's an invitation to share human experiences and to shed on the lives of others. I think to answer your question, I think there could probably be a bit more an appreciation and a curiosity around documentary, but I also think that the onus is on the filmmakers, on the documentary makers to explore that and to explore the way people want to receive information and the sort of artistic things that we can do to make the information memorable and digestible and honest for the audience.
Okay, so Kachi, I'll be asking you the same question, right? So thanks to you, a lot of our Nigerian stories have gone global as well, thanks to filmmakers like you. But I want to know, do you think Nigerians themselves appreciate the documentary genre when it comes to filmmaking?
I think that, you know, there's appreciation.
Okay.
You know, to some extent, but I think that there's a lot more that needs to be done. I feel like maybe the missing link, right, at this point, one of the missing links is what Mena said earlier, which is distribution, right? You know, but, you know, that brings up the point about what is the role of local team in the Nigerian space to promote documentaries, you know? You know, in the UK, you have the likes of BBC, you have Channel 4, you have all these guys. They commission documentaries. They work with the best documentary filmmakers. You know, they have funds for documentaries, and then they play those documentaries, and people watch them. So when you have a TV station, say, for instance, like yourself, like NTA, and you have a captive audience already, what are you feeding them? Because that's how you get people interested in this, you know? So you have to, I think that there's a role that TV stations can play. I mean, just as a first point of entry to commission documentaries, work with actually good because I mean, part of the problem is if you don't feed people the right kind of content, they will switch off, right? So you have to work with people. There are some names that were mentioned there. There are Nigerians who are doing amazing things in Nigeria in the documentary space.
Right.
You know, with them, commission documentaries, and then place those documentaries on your platform. You already have a captive audience, and that audience will consume that content, you know, and then you can gauge response. It takes time, you know, it's not something that can happen overnight. But if we want to, you know, activate or catalyze that ecosystem, there has to be support, it's not just for the filmmaker. So I make a great film and that film doesn't go anywhere. We've not accomplished anything.
Okay.
So I think that whilst we're encouraging filmmakers to keep honing their craft and telling the right stories in the most entertaining or engaging way, there has to be another conversation with the people who have the platforms to say, okay, look, you know, is there a world where there's a 30-minute slot or a 1-hour slot, you know, every Friday or every Thursday or twice in a week, whatever. And we're going to document that are made, homegrown, that are made so that people can watch. That's my spiel.
That sounds like a good idea. Mena, how about you?
All right, I would keep saying that Nigerians or Africans love documentaries. Because when I always deal with the numbers, for me, I'm leaning towards distribution and marketing. And I look at, I don't know if I can call a brand name here, but let me just call it like Netflix. When I go to see some of the content that comes out, for example, the American Manhunt about Osama bin Laden, who would not watch it? For instance, the Beauty and the Bestest, that is a documentary, but it was made in a way that it was easy to consume. Like it's now number 1 or number 2 on Netflix. And then we have films like We Breathe Again, I Want Boys. All those films are films that if you start watching it, you will not stop it. You understand? So my theory here is Nigerians love documentaries, but we need
We're not serving them rightly.
We're not serving them rightly, and we're not investing enough funds to tell good documentaries that are not boring. Like I said, most of the documentaries that are being shown on TV, terrestrial TVs, are product documentaries. I mean, we're talking about an event that happened. There's a narration from the beginning to the end. We're talking about the commission of a product or a bridge. That is a subject documentary. What about telling me a documentary about former President Obasanjo or the coup or whatever is actually happening about our past leaders? For me, I see documentary as a plus for Nigeria, the government. If the government are watching this piece, documentary is not a loss. If we decide to tell documentaries about all the leaders that are currently alive. And even those that are dead and past, it will become a history piece that can be kept in our museums and our libraries.
Right.
And you will bring fantastic filmmakers like Kachi. You know what? Come and tell me a story about this president. Come and tell me a story. We get to have great leaders die without saying anything to store for the future. We're looking at it from the immediate effect. But what about in the next 100 years?
Right.
Who is going to know about this? Currently, I'm working on a documentary for our former president, Obasanjo. Let me tell you, when they told me that I was going to direct that documentary, that was the most exciting. Like, I was so excited. I wasn't paid the fee that I wanted, but to put my name on that kind of footprint and to get information. Even when I was we were interviewing him for like some couple of days, I was just stunned looking at this man. Not because
that was history.
It was history.
Okay.
You know, so why I say this is documentaries are loved by Nigerians, but how are you presenting these documentaries
for them to consume?
For them to consume.
And that's what you think the challenge is.
Yes, and the medium in which they will be aired and valued,
So we'll take a quick break now on the Medley show, but when we return, we'll have our final words, and then that'll be the end of the show, but we'll take a quick break right now. Okay, welcome back. This is still the Medley show, and we are the closing moments of the show. Of course, I still have Joel, Kachi, Benson, Elemchi Nwosu, and Mena in the studio with me, and we have been telling Nigerian stories through film, documentary style. I'm going to take your final words in a few minutes, but this is what I want you to do for the next 30 seconds, yeah? You did pitch. Joel, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Elemchi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so all three of you pitched,
yes.
All three of you pitched documentary films to me at the beginning of the show. So what I want you to do is to, in 20 seconds, pick a soundtrack. I'll start with you, Joel, again. So your documentary was The Life of Okada Riders in Nigeria. So give me a soundtrack that would do well with that documentary. Maybe an existing song that you think will fit quite well. I mean,
if I wanted to do something like that, I would have a chat with Brimo and tell him to help me cook something. Yeah, I love his music. It's great.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Elemchi, how about you? The Igbo apprenticeship system. What soundtrack would you pick?
Flavor comes to mind.
Oh, I just knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. You didn't disappoint me. How about you? Jollof rice, fried rice struggles.
Of course, Sonny Ade, the king of Fuji.
Oh, okay. Why? Yeah. Why that choice? I didn't see that coming.
Because he understands high life, and if I'm going to do something animated, I will need someone that the music will set that Fuji, that nostalgic feeling to it. And there is no party like they say the Lagos party.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so finally, I'm going to take your final words now. I'll start with you, Mena, in 30 seconds. So what Nigerian story are you itching to tell, do you think, that has not been told yet? What Nigerian story?
Stories about our past leaders.
About our past leaders. Okay. You think we're not telling that enough?
We're not telling it well.
Okay. So, Joel, how about you? In your final words, what Nigerian stories do you think are not being told enough and you're itching to tell, or you might be telling us in the future?
I mean, any story that aims to amplify voices and serve, underserved communities, I'm all for it. So I'm very, whatever amplifies a voice, I'm in it. So I do several different things. We'll stay tuned and
we'll stay tuned, right? Okay, you don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Okay, Elemchi, you're up next. What stories are you telling us next? What Nigerian stories do you think have not been tapped yet, and you're itching to tell that?
I think stories. Nigeria is a really interesting country, and somewhat, it's one of those places that when you think about it, does it make sense? Okay. I would say it would be around the formation of Nigeria and the various groups and languages and the diversity within Nigeria, and also the things that unify us, keeping it broad.
All right, at this point, I want to say a very big thank you to Joel Kachi-Benson. Thank you so much, Elem Chinwos. And of course, thank you so much, beautiful us today, as we talked about telling Nigerian stories, documentary style. And I hope very soon in the future, when we're able to push documentaries a bit more, we'll be able to have this conversation again.
Yeah.
And at this point, we've come to the end of today's edition of the Medley Show. But what makes documentaries special is that they're more than films. They are legacies captured in moving frames. As Nigerians, telling our own stories means owning our narrative and preserving it for the world to see. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show, but we will do this again next week. My name is Tochi. Until then, you take care and bye for now.